You motherfuckers! Sorry, that may have been a bit rude. Anyway, it's time for Spooky Saturdays. That sounded a lot better in my head, but they haven't invented technology yet to erase things and start over again, so here we are. For today's Spooky Saturday story, we're going to talk about one of America's most haunted buildings. The Crescent Hotel. Viewer discretion's advised, I guess, but it's just a spooky. It's not even like violent or anything, just so... Eureka Springs, Arkansas. That's where this tale is from. We're going back to the really old-timey days, back to 1886, back when I was in, I think, high school. Yeah. So the Crescent Hotel was constructed, and that's when it opened. The hotel was built almost kind of like a castle. This huge, just like majestic building. One of the oldest photos of it that I found is pretty spectacular, actually. It looks really, really cool. Even way back in its heyday, it was a really, really awesome looking place. Eureka Springs, Arkansas, I guess is widely considered to be one of the most haunted just overall cities in the entire country. At one point, like way back when, in the 1800s, they thought there was like healing waters in the springs. People would descend upon the town trying to get these healing waters. Obviously, the waters weren't healing anything. For roughly 15, 16 years or so, the hotel was a hotel, a luxurious one at that. It was a spa, all of the luxuries that any hotel would offer, and then some. They would throw lavish dance parties, you would be served tea every morning, you would be offered these like beautiful horse-drawn carriage rides, and it was just a really happening place. But then, the cost of trying to keep a place like that going, it became a little too much. And another problem they had is that during the off season, when they weren't really even having guests there, they were not making any money. So it was sold to, I believe, like some kind of school. It was the Crescent College and Conservatory for Young Women, and that school officially opened in the Crescent Hotel in 1908. But then we're creeping slowly towards the Great Depression era, and they weren't able to keep up the costs, with the school and everything. By 1934, the hotel itself was basically nearing its end. Like, they just wouldn't be able to keep it open financially. And that's when a doctor swooped in and said, "I'll buy the joint." Dr. Norman Baker. I use the word doctor loosely. He wasn't actually a doctor. He was someone you would probably describe back then as a snake oil salesman. He was originally from Iowa. He had a history with fraudulent dealings, and he was like a radio host in the early 30s where he was committing illegal acts to boost the signal of the radio. He never went to medical school, and he was never actually a doctor, but he could just claim he was a doctor. No, they didn't have Google back then and Yelp reviews, so you can get away with a lot more, obviously, back then. Norman Baker claimed that he had the cure-all for cancer. Yes, he said he has the cure, that it has a 100% success rate. Everyone who took this cure was saved. And it didn't require any x-rays, it didn't require any, drugs, it didn't require any of the traditional treatment one with cancer would typically go through, even back then. It was basically a little vial, a little liquid, if you will. You just take a couple sips, you do some treatments with the doctor, and boom, you're saved. But little did they all know Dr. Norman Baker was your good old-fashioned cuckoo, quackadoo. He didn't have a cure for cancer, folks. I know, shocker. You probably would have heard about it by now. He basically mooched off of the misfortunes of cancer patients. They were desperate. They wanted to live. They don't want to die. They don't want to go through this horrible process. So he knew he could get their money, and he would get like their life savings either out of them themselves or their family with this promise to cure cancer. And he had this, clinic there at the hotel for a few years, and he had a morgue underneath in the basement. And when people started to die, either from the cancer or from his special concoction, his little bottle that they drank from, well, he didn't want to scare the other patients and make it look like everyone's dying, so he basically just disposed of them either in the morgue, or he would transfer the bodies through the basement in the morgue and then to dispose them somewhere else. But it's said that many people died there because of this false doctor. But eventually he would be exposed and he would be run out of town. He had served a day or two in jail in Iowa at one point, but for the most part, the guy went on to live the rest of his life relatively normal and relatively without issue, and he died in the late 50s. The Crescent Hotel would later be purchased once again, and then it is basically the hotel that it is now today. Still operates. It is now a successful hotel. Now it gets attention from mainstream media, plus a whole bunch of ghost hunting crews, both non-television and television forms have gone to the hotel because, well, there's a history there. You have all of these cancer patients who died from their illness there when it was a hospital. You also have an Irishman, because when they built the hotel in the 1880s, they brought in some stonemasons and other, builders from Ireland. There was a gentleman there, I think they said his name is Michael, who was on the second or third floor while they were constructing the hotel, and because of some unknown issues, he decided to leap from the second or third floor to his death. It's believed that it's room 218 where is the area where he had initially jumped from. And now people who stay in room 218 claim they hear and feel and see all sorts of things. People someone's messing with them in the hotel room, making all sorts of noises, making all sorts of ruckus. Another apparition that's reported there is a young boy named Brecken. They think he's about 4 years old, and this individual actually died of another illness while staying at the hotel when it was a hotel, not during the hospital period. And now people can hear the little pitter-patters and the little footsteps of a child running up and down the hallways of the hotel, but when you look out, you see nothing. There ain't no kids running around. Sometimes people say they hear the distant laughter of a young boy coming from all over the hotel. But when they look out their door and down the hallway, nothing. Many guests have reported hearing the sound of a squeaky gurney being pushed down the hall. And they also claim they see the see-through figure of a nurse pushing what they think is a gurney. Likely one of the nurses who would be employed by Dr. Baker, who probably helped dispose of the many bodies of people who died there. If you're down in the basement and in the morgue area, well, that was once the morgue, you can hear the sounds of distant cries, distant screams, the sounds of people coughing from a sickness. There's also the ghost of Theodora. You can apparently hear and see her as she tries to enter her old room, room 419. She will sometimes clean the guests' bedrooms when they leave, or sometimes when they're in the shower, they come out, their room is cleaned, their suitcase is packed, the suitcase is opened or closed. There's also the rumors of a woman simply called Girl in the Mist. She can usually be seen during a full moon, and when the moon comes out, you can see the misty apparition of a woman wailing. But there is no record of anyone like that would fit a description of someone who did die there. Like there is kind of some history of the other folks who have died there. The hotel has been visited by many a ghost hunter. Here are some photos that amateurs have taken while staying at the hotel that they claim are ghosts. Proof of ghosts or orbs. I'm not really sure how you feel about orbs. I'm not personally a fan of them. I believe in ghosts, by the way. But I don't believe that an orb represents a ghost. I think an orb is just a weird issue with lighting and dust. Personally. You can totally tell me that I'm wrong, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. But I do believe in ghosts. You can always offer explanations to, most ghostly photos, but just because you can offer an explanation for them doesn't mean they weren't what the actual claim was, a ghost. What about you folks? Would you dare stay in the Crescent Hotel? I think I would. I think I would have a blast there. I've stayed in other haunted places. I've stayed at the Copper Queen Hotel in Bisbee. I've been to many haunted places like the Queen Mary, the Whaley House. I've experienced things. So why not? I'd give it a whirl. Would you dare enter the rooms of the Crescent Hotel and be fondled by a ghost? I'm not sure why I said fondled, but again, can't erase things. Or is it all just a bunch of poppycock? I just wanted to say that. Regardless, it has a lengthy history there. And if all else, historical places are fun to visit. I love going to places like this. So if I ever find myself in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, I just might want to take a step into the Crescent Hotel. I would just politely ask that no ghosts enter my body and make me do things. I don't know why I winked. But hey, that's it for today's spooky video. I don't really do the spooky thing well, so this probably is not going to be seen as a very scary video. I just don't do it well. But it's a spooky place. There's that. But this guy, will see ya for the next true crime video. If you don't already know who I am, hi, I'm Mike. I normally tell 4 true crime stories a week here on YouTube, and I'm gonna do like a spooky type, history type thing every other Saturday here, so there's that. So please subscribe, like the video, give the old share a Rooney if you want a Rooney. And we'll see you for the next video. I don't have anything for you to end, so... That is very flat soda. I need to vomit.